I've worked in the Sanford School Department for 26 years, teaching English and social studies, and 4 years at the high school, 20 years at the junior high. So I'm familiar with the fact that for many years we have talked in Sanford about how do we make kids understand that high school is not the end, it's the beginning. And you're in high school, in fact you're in school all the way through, to do something wonderful with your life. And although we had conversations with kids informally about, well, what do you want to do and how you're going to get there, and are you going to go to college, are you going to technical school, are you going into the military, are you taking a year off, what are you going to do? We didn't have a real focus on that. And so many kids left here without really knowing what they wanted to do. Or thinking they wanted to do something but not realizing what other possibilities there were. And how to pay for it. And how to go about applying for different programs. So we decided we needed something more focused, more organized, more systematic. So I'm going to shut off the lights. The reason why I'm shutting off the lights is most of this is on the computer, and I'm showing you the Naviance stuff. I'm going to show you a little bit of a PowerPoint first. PLPs are personal learning plans. They're created by a student. They're not the same as IEPs, which are special ed directed, formatted legal documents. These are plans that a student creates with the help of a mentor, an adult in the building, supported by parents, and thank you for coming. The purpose of the PLP is to help the kids discover and explore a spark they have, what interests them, what gets them up in the morning, what do they enjoy doing. If they could do anything, what would it be? Without putting any restrictions on it to start with. Just what do you love? Then we show them a way that they can take those interests and turn them into some satisfying careers. And we do this in many different ways. The PLP, which we do use Naviance as a software platform, the PLP includes all of these things and more. There are interest and ability inventory surveys. There's a personality profile. It's kind of like based on Myers-Briggs that tells you you're an introverted, sensory, judgmental, feeling person. Test scores. Now, we've only been doing this a year, so we do not have everybody's PSATs and SATs and Ready Step and everything else in there yet, but that's the plan. Learning style inventories, multiple intelligences. Course offerings. So the program of studies will be something that they could look at. Resumes. We started the resumes with the 9th graders last year. We're going to add to it every year. Teacher recommendations. So when kids are applying to colleges, the teacher recommendations can go right into their PLP, right into Naviance, and Naviance sends them out to the appropriate colleges. They'll have a transcript in their GPA. The career options and explorations I'll tell you a little bit more about in a bit. College and training searches. This is a place where they can actually do their college applications and electronically send them out. And there'll be some scholarship searches, and there's a place to do some goal setting. So on a regular basis, what's the next step that they need to take in order to be successful this semester or this year or throughout the next couple weeks, right? So, one more thing. So, Naviance is the software platform, the program that we use. It's going to generate all the activities, and it's going to hold the results of all these activities. So what I'm going to do now is get out of this, and I'm going to sign in to Naviance as a student, a junior. I know this is a little difficult to see, but basically every student has a different home page as far as what depending on what class they're in. So this is the class of 2016, the juniors, and although you can't probably see it all that well, it talks about college planning guides, the college information forum coming up tonight. In the future we will have more, I hope. Career fairs, all the different things that the juniors need to know, and links to things that will help them get more information. Across the top are some tabs. So when a student or a parent logs into Naviance, they're going to get right to the home page for whatever class the student is in, and to see the tabs across the top. So I thought what I would do is to take you a little tour through the tabs. If you have any questions along the way, please let me know.
All students have a login, right?
Yes, and all parents have a login. Your login is your first initial and last name, and your student ID, your child's student ID with a P at the end. And if you have any trouble getting in, please let me know, because I can reset your password. I can find out why it isn't working, if it isn't working, but it should work. Okay, so across the top, the courses tab is the first tab. That's not really developed yet. There are some Sanford courses in there, but nobody's really updated them well, so I would use the program of studies on the website first. I'm going to go to the About Me tab, which is the fourth one over. The About Me tab, as you can see, has a lot of aspects to it. It includes things that are found in other tabs as well. But if we go down to my assessments, for example, there's a Strengths Explorer, which does that. It gives kids a series of questions. They respond to them, and their top 3 strengths are revealed, explained, and then linked to careers that match or need those strengths. But we don't always find that we're interested in everything that we have a strength for. For example, one of my strengths is relating. One of the careers that goes with it is banking services. I don't have any interest in banking services, even though they may need one of my strengths. So we also do a career interest profiler, a career key. We kind of triangulate everything so that kids can see from various aspects what their strengths, their abilities, and their interests, how they match and how they link to careers. And I'll show you what exactly I mean by that in a little bit. So there are inventories. There's the Learning Styles Inventory, the Multiple Intelligence Inventories. There's also what's called the portfolio. That's where everything they've done is kind of summarized in one place. So I'm going to show you what the portfolio looks like. I'm Marcia Rainey, a junior in high school, and first thing they do, it's loading. We'll wait until it finishes loading. But it has some profile information, my counselor, my address, my parents' names, and so forth. But then it goes right to what were my top 3 strengths. If I haven't taken it, it would be blank. And what those 3 strengths mean. So mine were relating, caring, and dependability, which are kind of boring compared to a lot of the other strengths in there, like achieving and the presence and future thinker. But that's me. Then the personality type, as I told you before. This is just a summary. The actual big results would be in each individual one on the About Me tab. The Learning Styles Inventory, the Multiple Intelligences Inventory, the fact that I have 3 resumes completed, that I have a game plan for after high school. There's an area for tasks where teachers in the future, maybe next year, will be able to actually assign tasks to kids. You've got a project due. You've got the first draft due to me next week. Those kinds of things will be all in Naviance. They can set goals, an academic goal, career goal, college goal, other goals, and personal goals. There's the career planning section where some of the inventories that I have done have led me to choose careers that fit my interests, strengths, and abilities. And those would also come from the career key, which allows me to see what kind of personality type I am. I'm artistic and social first and foremost, but I have some enterprising in me. I have zero realistic in me, and at first I thought that was my kind of my mental state, that I was not realistic at all, but actually what it means is more hands-on type of thing. In addition to that, it explains what all of those terms are. There are some places for the course plan, which we will do in the future. Test scores, my SAT scores are in there. My teacher recommendations and what their statuses are, the colleges I'm thinking about, the colleges I'm applying to, and any scholarships that I've applied for. Now, where does all this stuff come from? Well, if I go back to the About Me tab, all of these things I showed you before and others are the individual activities that are done that end up being in the portfolio. And so, for example, when I did the career key, and I told you about my artistic and social highest scores, underneath each activity, under each category, though, is a tab called View Careers. So I'll say, because I'm social, I will go there and I get a whole list, and I mean a whole list of careers that need that personality type of social. And I can click on each one that interests me, and at the end add it to my list. It says Save to my list. Well, my list is under the Careers tab, which if I go to Favorite Careers and Clusters, these are all the ones I've saved. I can go into, let's go to Hospitality and Tourism. It sounds like fun. Okay. And I've decided I want to do Travel and Tourism. And I want, maybe a career in Lodging Management. When I do that, I get a series of tabs. There's a test after this. A series of tabs that the overview is what's involved in being a lodging manager, what knowledge and skills do I have to have in order to be a lodging manager, what tasks and activities are involved in that job. Gee, it sounds great to own a bed and breakfast. Wait a minute, I've got to get up at 4 in the morning and make the muffins? Maybe not. But if the wages are good, maybe yes. So here are wages by state, either yearly salary or I could do weekly salary. And I can go, say, to Maine, and it'll break it down. In this case, like California, for example, it breaks it down by major metropolitan area. But in this case, for Maine, the average salary is $65,000 a year for a lodging manager. Maybe I'll reconsider that, getting up. Maybe I'll make the muffins the night before. So,
does it say in there what you would be required to have for an education to do some of these jobs?
yes.
Okay.
So, and let me go back. Let me close that. And I'm going to go back to the overview, and in the overview section, the first tab there, it will tell you related college majors, and so it goes on and on and on. Every time you click on something, you're brought a little bit further off. But one thing that you can always do is just to get back to the beginning. You can't get lost on Naviance. Get back to the beginning. You just click on the same tab, and you get back to the start. You say, okay, because kids start to lose their way. And I say, you really can't get lost. Just keep playing around and go further and further and further. Let's see. All right. The My Planner tab is one where I mentioned earlier that teachers are going to be able to give tasks to students. students can set their own tasks as well. So this is like an agenda book. I know some kids keep a calendar on their iPads, some keep a calendar on their phones. If that works for them, that's fine. But this is another one where they'll be reminded if there's something due, something coming up. They'll be told if something is overdue. There's also a goals tab I mentioned before about the goals. I set a personal goal of getting my community service done. So actually I should do it this way and show you what it looks like. So the goal template asks, what's the goal? What specifically do you need to do to accomplish this goal? How do you know when you've accomplished it? So say I want to do community service, I have to do 5 hours my freshman year. How do I know when I've accomplished it? I have a piece of paper that says I've done my 5 hours. Is it achievable? Well, I want to bring water to all the people in Tanzania. Well, that's probably not achievable this year for my 5 hours of community service. So it's something within the community that I can do. Is it relevant? Is there some benefit to somebody, myself or someone else, to doing this particular community service, and timely? Am I going to be able to do it within this semester or next semester? So every goal has that SMART business: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely to it. And they set the goal, so I'm going to save my goal. They can then develop the next step. And my next step was to check out the website, because the website has a lot of community service opportunities on it. So they can't just say, I'm going to do my 5 hours and then not have the next step to it. They can, but we're encouraging them to have a next step. Once that next step is completed, have a next step until their goal has been reached. And so, as I told you, there are tasks assigned to me tab. There's a to-do list for themselves that they can set their own assignments. And I want to go to one more thing. There is this wonderful, wonderful activity in the Careers tab called Road Trip Nation, where Naviance, in collaboration with this company called Road Trip Nation, has interviewed thousands of people who are successful in their fields, some who have been through hardships, who have come from bad neighborhoods, who found their career later in life, who changed careers, who knew exactly what they wanted right from the start. And kids can go into Road Trip Nation, see where it says Explore More, and through various different ways find people who share their interests and their passions. I want to show you a couple, if you don't mind. First they could do What's Your Road, which is they can answer a series of questions. Which of these is most important to you? And I'll say being physically active. Then they'll say what interests you the most, and I'll say action sports. What else interests you? And I can say engineering. And they'll link me up with people who answered the same way. But I want to show you a really interesting, Pat Croce, I believe he's an entrepreneur, but I believe he is the owner of the Indiana Pacers, maybe. Probably should have checked that out a little better, but he's in, okay, all leaders. Okay, so then they have, by in alphabetical order, everybody who they have interviewed. So there's several ways to get to who they want to see. So if I go to Pat. Okay, here he is. Okay.
I'm really curious to know who you were sort of before you developed your philosophy. Like, it's very clear that you have very defined ideas about goal setting and various ways to motivate yourself. But where did that stem from?
I must have been interviewed a million times. I've never been asked that. Who was I before I developed these strategies? And I should tell you first, Laura, that I've developed them in the sense where I'm a sponge. I observe, I challenge, I err, I react, I create, but I'm always trying to be better. There's one word in the Japanese language that means an entire philosophy called kaizen, continuous improvement. And that's always been my philosophy, is continuous improvement. Because if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. Now most people, oh, I wish, and they dream, but they don't take that vision and break it down into time-sensitive goals, and take those goals and break them down into tasks, and take each task and break it down into action steps. And then they don't take the first step, the action, whether it's picking up a phone or knocking on a door or asking the question. They don't do that. And that's the whole key, is got to do something. For most people, I'll get to it. But let me tell you one thing that my life proves, is that your IQ is not nearly as important as your I will. Because there's a limit to the amount of knowledge you can accumulate, but there's no limit, none whatsoever, to your dreams and your determination. None. Just gotta want it. There's a will of the soul. How really bad you want to be the best? Are you going to commit to your will? If not, okay, take a step back. Someone else will step in and you'll be following someone else's will. How bad do you want it? That's it. How bad do you want it? So to answer your question, I don't really know who I was before, other than someone who wanted to strive to be the best.
So is this something that the teachers are all going to start using more and more? Like, should we see this replacing things like e-backpack and...
I wouldn't say that it would replace it. What you're going to see, my plan, is the sophomores are going to be visited by PLP coaches who were trained this summer in their social studies classes, because right now that's the only course that all sophomores take. And it will probably be 5 or 6, 7 lessons each semester, using the Naviance curriculum, which will build on what they did last year and prepare them for what's going to happen junior year. The ultimate plan is that all adults in the building will be trained as mentors, that there'll be a regular PLP hour, maybe once a month, twice a month, to update PLPs, update their resumes, work on careers, look at what careers they've saved and maybe rethink a few of them, maybe explore the colleges that go along with them. And speaking of that, I want to show you the last tab, and that's the colleges tab. And when you go to one of the wonderful sessions that Donna and Rachel have, or that Greg and Sarah have, you are going to see them walk through a lot of what's in here. As I mentioned earlier, the college apps are on here. So any college that accepts the Common App is on here. The other ones are on there as well, but they'll say that they don't accept the Common App, but they'll have access to their application. So it's really very, very easy to use. In addition to that, there's this wonderful thing that I won't go into it in great detail, but you can certainly check it out. It's called the Super Match, the College Super Match. And all along the orange band are different criteria. So a kid can basically, based on his own desires and interests, can find the 20 top colleges that fit their criteria. For example, first one's location. They can decide anywhere in the U.S. they're interested in going to college. The second one is majors. Some kids have no idea what they want to do right then, but do they want a 4-year school? Do they want a 2-year school? What kinds of things are they interested in? And what are my scores? You know, some colleges don't require scores. Some do. They'll need to put their scores in. What tuition and fees am I looking at? They can leave that blank. They can say, I have no idea. They don't have, or they can also decide, how important it is within, and so they go ethnicity, school type, school size, on-campus housing, the campus setting. Do you want public or private? So once they have filled in as many or as few of these as they want, this section goes away and they get schools that match, and it changes with every single thing they put in, it changes. And so they end up with 20 schools, hopefully that are 100%, but usually 100% down to maybe 95%. And they'll tell them what it is that school doesn't have that match their criteria. So Greg and Sarah are really good about doing this with the kids junior year and getting them started on it. And then revisiting it and say, okay, now let's talk about, what do you need to do to actually get into these schools? These schools also have, these super matches also have links to the colleges. So you see their homepage, then you see their financial aid page, their admissions page, their college life page. Sometimes they have a video that goes along with it. So they can really explore what is out there. That was not available to me when I was a senior in high school. I had a 5-minute talk with my guidance counselor, and that was it. And finally, but maybe most importantly, scholarships and money. It shows up once kids are juniors. This will not show up on the sophomore page, but I could get it for you if you wanted it. And it has, what's wonderful, a scholarship match where kids actually fill in. I've already done it. They actually fill in personal information about themselves, and they only get matched up with scholarships that meet their criteria. When I was putting my 2 daughters through college, they came home with a stack of scholarships this thick. That doesn't apply. That doesn't apply. You don't have no Native American blood. You are not a male. You are not a football player, and so forth. This tailors the scholarships just for them.